Good morning, Dan. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you today?
Doing well. Thank you for asking. This Lions, RJ, just profess to him your Dan Campbell, Detroit Lion, Jared Goff love. We have the biggest Lions fan in the Metroplex.
And I'm not even a Lions fan, but I love Dan Campbell. I love he's a meathead just like me, which is ironic because I also love Jared Goff, and he is probably the furthest you could get from a meathead. But this is like my adopted other team that I just make sure I follow just about every week.
Dan, does the turnaround in culture feel real? Sorry.
Yeah, no, it does. No, I was just going to say he definitely, you're at both ends of the spectrum there with those two guys. Not that either one of them, represents anything bad, but they're just, as you alluded to, very different people. Look, the culture is different. There's no doubt about that. From where they were under the previous regime to where they are in this regime, if you're talking about unity and collaboration and the entire building working together from the janitor to sales to media relations to the team to scouting, all the way through that everybody feels like they're moving as one. There's no doubt that they have taken care of that. But, you got to win games ultimately. They didn't win games with the previous regime. They haven't won games with this one. But I think one thing that they set out to do was to kind of reunite everybody. The buildings had been kind of fractured before under the previous regime. That's taken care of. I think everybody feels good about going to work now and being a part of something. But the results haven't been what they wanted. And ultimately, that's what you need to do is have both those things working hand in hand, and that hasn't happened so far in year two of this rebuild.
Dan, was getting shut out by the Patriots the fluke, or scoring all the points in the first three games more the fluke?
We're going to find out together. I mean, I think it was a fluke, and that's not to say they're going to let's separate talking about victories and the offense, because that's what you asked me about. So let's just talk about the offense. I thought coming into this year, the offense would be the strength of this team. It has been to date. The hope is certainly that was a one-off. I think it's probably somewhere in between being the highest scoring offense in the league, which they were for the first month, and then just getting nothing against the Patriots. So I still think this offense is going to score some points. I still think this offensive line is good. They'll be challenged big time this week. But, these guys have run the ball better than they have in years. They've had injuries to wide receivers with guys coming in and out, and they've still been able to, score some points. So I think it was something of a one-off, but I'm going to be interested to see where this offense settles in and kind of what they are for the long haul versus what they were for that first month.
Assuming it was a one-off, is Jared Goff the long-term quarterback?
Great question, and one that they absolutely have to answer this year. I mean, I'm probably a little more bullish on Jared than some people, in that I believe that you can win with him. I don't think there's that many elite quarterbacks in this league where you just, say that guy can roll out a ball and win a game for us. There just aren't that many of those guys. And everybody, wants to judge their other quarterbacks harshly, not realizing that the option that you have may not be any better. I mean, I think Jared's pretty good. Look, Jared's done a lot of things that we've dreamed about in Detroit. He's been to a Super Bowl. He's won playoff games. And that's something that hasn't happened here. And I think he showed you at the end of last year when he had 11 touchdown passes and 2 interceptions in the last 5 games, and what he did through 4 weeks this year, leading the league in touchdown passes, that he can be that guy. He can be a guy that you can win with. I think you need to put the right players around him, and they've certainly gone a long way towards doing that this year. But it's a question that's still being answered. And as I said, you can't come out of this year still wondering. You have to know whether or not he's the guy this season, because you're sitting with 2 number 1 draft picks coming up in this upcoming draft. And if you need to go out and get another quarterback, then you have to do it. You can't go into next year saying, well, we're still trying to figure this Goff out, because life just comes at you too fast and windows close too quickly. And you'll end up putting the whole team back together with somebody else if you don't figure it out.
Lions play-by-play, Dan Miller joined us here, 105 through the Fan. How's the health of the receivers? St. Brown, Chark, etc.
So St. Brown should be good. He was a full go yesterday. Chark, I don't know, man. I'm starting to get a little concerned. He's got the same ankle that he had an issue with last year. Didn't practice at all yesterday, which is never good coming back off a bye. So we'll see where he goes. Josh Reynolds, he's been a little bit nicked up. We'll have to see what comes up on Sunday. So, I mean, it's kind of been, look, it's not the reason that they're sitting at 1-4, but injuries have been a big, I'm telling you guys who lost your quarterback, but injuries have been a big, issue with the Lions. They've had to reshuffle the offensive line. They lost their best back-end safety in Tracy Walker for the season. So they've been, rotating cast in and out, and receiver has certainly been a part of that as well. So, for the most part, for 4 weeks, it didn't slow them down. And then things kind of fell apart in New England. So I'm anxious to see what it looks like this week coming off of that.
Man, is Amon-Ra St. Brown this legit? Where the hell did this come from, and is it here to stay?
He walked in the door day one and just looked like he belonged. There's a maturity about him, and maybe it's because his father was a professional bodybuilder athlete and got it from him, and I know his dad worked those kids strong and mentally, physically, all those things, but there was just something about him the day that he walked in, a relentless pursuit of, achieving the best that he possibly can be. His workouts are, the things that people talk about here and really drive other guys to work harder. And it just kind of clicked last year in the second half of the season, in particular after the Lions picked up Josh Reynolds and they kind of had another receiver out there that could play off Amon-Ra. And it's just he's never looked back. I think, it's like 51 catches in the last 6 games last year and off to a great start this year. He's really difficult to handle one-on-one. He's a great route runner. He's smart. Not necessarily the guy that's going to blow by you on a fly pattern downfield, but he'll find a way to get open. He's strong. He knows how to use his body. He's the real deal. He's legit. I think he's a guy that's going to catch a lot of passes and be a quarterback's best friend for a long time. And I will say this, the production didn't start from day one, but the understanding of who he is and how he handles himself was evident from the moment we met him.
What kind of coach is Dan Campbell? Was he an aggressive, let's go for it all the time kind of coach? More conservative, a lot of runs? What is he?
Yeah, there's no doubt. He is a go for it on fourth down kind of guy. And that's one of the things that I think kind of has been talked about a lot. You go back to that Minnesota game, the Lions have a 4th and 4 at the plus 36 with whatever it was, little over a minute to go, little under 2 minutes to go. And if you make that play, game's over. I mean, Minnesota's basically out of timeouts at that point, and certainly the Lions could have run out the clock. And Dan Campbell, who had been a gambler, went for a 54-yard field goal. No good, great field position for Minnesota. They win the game, and it's a game the Lions let get away. Credit Minnesota. They made the plays, but the second ended, Campbell came in and said, I should have gone for it. It was one play with the strength of your team, your offense to win the game. And what you did was put the weakest part of your team back out there to try to hang on the defense, and it didn't work. So, answer to your question, very aggressive in terms of decisions of when to go for it and things like that. But if you're talking about the offense, he wants to run the ball. He wants to utilize this offensive line. And that's best for Jared Goff as well, because when play action works, Jared's most effective. So it's kind of a mix there. Yeah, there's no doubt when it comes to decisions, he will roll the dice. But when it comes to offense, he's still the kind of guy who does want to grind it out and then throw the ball after that. It's not 3 yards in a cloud of dust. It's run the ball, then utilize what they see as a high-powered passing game off of that.
Let me ask you my stupid question of the interview. Dan Miller, Lions play-by-play voice here on Shan and RJ. Is there any way that Lions fans would rather see Dak Prescott over Cooper Rush Sunday?
No, I don't think so. And you know what, guys, I don't know that it even matters. And I'm not saying that as a reflection in any way on Cooper Rush or on Dak. The Lions haven't stopped anybody this year. Mm-hmm. And look at the quarterbacks that we've gone up against. Now, look, Geno Smith is having a great year. He torched us. Jalen Hurts having a great year. He torched us. They had some luck with Wentz. But other than that, I mean, look, Bailey Zappi made his first start and had a QB rating over 100. And the Lions never got close to him. He was very comfortable in that game. So Look, total respect for Dak. From this angle, he's obviously the better player. I don't know, where he'll be in terms of rust or whatever. But look, I think the Lions, long before they worry about anybody else on the other side of the line of scrimmage, they got to worry about themselves. They got to worry about finding a way to pressure the passer and making somebody uncomfortable, because it doesn't matter who's back there. If you're playing in this league and you can't get a pass rush, that quarterback's going to beat you. They're too good. If you've gotten to this level and nobody's putting you under duress, you're going to find a way to make plays. So I don't think it's a big source of conversation here. We're expecting to see Dak, and it just really comes down to, if the Lions don't play better defensively, it really doesn't matter. So I think that's more the way people have looked at it, is a frustration with what they have seen on that side of the ball to date this year.
How has the Okudah pick turned out?
He was hurt for 2 years and had a hard time staying on the field. And then, really dug into his rehab off of a torn Achilles and came out this year and played really well for a couple games, and has had his moments where he's looked like a guy that could be a number one cornerback in this league. And then there have been moments where he struggled. And, in fairness, again, going back to what I was talking about a moment ago, I don't care who you are at cornerback. You can have Dion and whoever, Jalen Ramsey out there. It doesn't matter. If you don't have somebody putting the pressure on that passer, then cornerbacks can't hold. There's no way you can hold your coverage back there. So I would love to see Jeff play in with a rush that is forcing a quarterback to make a quicker decision, and I think he's going to be fine. I mean, he's had really some struggles in this league, but he's finally healthy, and it looks like he's doing some good things. But there's some support around him that I think needs to be better. So after some frustration, I would say it is trending up. Hasn't been perfect, but I think this is at least giving people hope that this pick may pay some dividends here at some point down the line.
You all feel good about Aiden Hutchinson being a stud?
Yeah, I think Aiden's looked very much like a rookie at times this year. He had the 3 sacks in one half against Washington, and other than that, it's been a bit of a struggle. And I think he is learning that these guys that you're going up against in this league are all good. Your 260-pound tight ends can block. And it's not like it was in college where you're just the best player on the field and you can beat everybody else. Now, his work ethic is off the charts. His behavior as a teammate, off the charts. Every box is checked when it comes to Aiden. But I just think there's some things that he has to learn in this league about being a pass rusher, having a counter move, having a plan, not over pursuing. Just a lot of things that rookies struggle with. Because to me, guys, one of the scariest things is trying to project a pass rusher from college to the pros and figuring that thing out. There's so many variables involved, and he's in the midst of figuring that stuff out right now. Look, no massive fear or anything like that about him. I just see a guy who's trying to understand what it is to play in this league, and a guy that does things the right way. And that's a great way to start, because I just think whatever his maximum potential is, he will reach that. It's just like it does for a lot of young players. It's just taking some time.